Is the money in the bank still safe? Could it be wiped out overnight? These questions, which have caused panic among people in China, have been widely discussed and circulated in recent days. On September 27th, a person in Huizhou, Guangdong Province, went to a Bank of China branch to withdraw 100,000 yuan, but they were only allowed to take out 3,000 yuan. When they posted a video, they shared that they had their ID card and bank card with them, but the bank staff still required additional verification from a third party.
I can't even withdraw my own money. Even with my ID card, I can't get it. That money is for an emergency. You deposit 100,000 yuan, and the most you could withdraw is 3,000. You can't transfer via WeChat, so you have to queue at the bank again.
On the 28th, the person who posted the video explained that when they tried to withdraw the money, the staff asked where the money came from. They said it was transferred by a friend for urgent use. Their friend was present and showed the transfer record and a photo of their ID. However, the bank staff said they needed the original ID card. So the friend had to go home and retrieve their ID for verification, and only then was the withdrawal completed. The poster also remarked, "Luckily, my friend lives nearby. If they lived hundreds of kilometers away, what would have been the point of getting the money out in an emergency?" The person involved said that they even had to provide third-party verification before the bank allowed the withdrawal. A customer service representative from Bank of China responded, saying that the bank's actions were likely to prevent fraud. This incident quickly trended on Chinese social media, with many people questioning, are they really preventing fraud, or are they just making it hard for ordinary people? China's economy has continued to decline, with real estate companies collapsing one after another, and wealth management groups deeply tied to the banking system facing large-scale financial failures. The banking sector in China is under unprecedented strain, and multiple banks have experienced difficulties allowing customers to withdraw their money. Let's look at another incident shared online. A person's mother recently had a 60,000 yuan fixed deposit that matured. The family had 40,000 yuan in cash and wanted to withdraw the 60,000 yuan to make a total of 100,000 yuan, which they plan to deposit into a local small bank near their home. As bank interest rates continue to drop, what used to be a 4% rate for a 3-year deposit has now fallen to about 2.6% in major banks. However, small local banks offer higher rates, around 3.2% for 3-year deposits, which is 0.6% higher than the major state-owned banks, giving an extra 1,800 yuan in interest over 3 years. Additionally, the state-owned bank is far from their home, making it inconvenient for elderly people. So the person drove their mother to the state-owned bank to withdraw the money. They were met with constant questioning from the bank staff about why they were withdrawing cash and what they intended to use it for. This upset the person, as they felt the questions were invasive. As soon as they entered the bank, the lobby manager asked what service they needed. When they said they wanted to withdraw money, the manager asked how much. Upon seeing the fixed deposit slip, the manager immediately asked, "What do you need the money for? Why not just transfer it?" The person's mother responded that she felt more secure holding the cash in hand. The staff gave them a number, and they waited in line. While everything seemed normal, the tone of the lobby manager was uncomfortable, almost like they were interrogating a criminal. However, it wasn't overly aggressive. When it was finally their turn at the counter to withdraw money, the bank teller started asking again, "What do you need the cash for?" And their tone was extremely harsh. That person's mother grew impatient and said, "It's my own money. Can't I use it however I want?" The bank teller explained, "There's a new rule in the country. For deposits over 50,000 yuan, you have to explain where the money came from, and for withdrawals over 50,000 yuan, you need to state the purpose of the cash." The person's mother, wanting to come up with an excuse, said, "My child is buying a house, so I'm taking out the money to help with the down payment." The teller continued to press, "You can just transfer the money for a down payment or use a card. There's no need to withdraw cash. Withdrawing cash is too troublesome." The person's mother, now frustrated, said, "We prefer using cash. We don't like transferring or using cards. Is that not allowed?" The teller replied, "If you're withdrawing money for a house down payment, you need to provide proof like a letter of intent, a purchase agreement, and details of the property. Without these documents, you can't take out the money." Hearing this, the person thought, "Isn't this way too complicated? I never imagined withdrawing cash would be such a hassle." They ended up telling the teller the truth, explaining that they were just combining the matured deposit with the cash at home to make a total of 100,000 yuan to deposit in a local bank with a higher interest rate. After repeated explanations, the teller finally allowed them to withdraw the money. In the end, the teller even asked the person's mother to show them the deposit slip from the new bank, to which she reluctantly agreed before leaving. More and more people in China are facing difficulties withdrawing their money from banks, especially when it comes to cash. The limits on withdrawals have become absurdly low, raising suspicions. Do banks really not have enough money? What's going on? Mr. Y, who works in the financial sector in China, analyzed some of the reasons behind the difficulties in withdrawing money. First, banks are facing a crisis of their own. The real estate bubble in China has already burst, and third-party wealth management companies like Zhongzhi have experienced massive collapses, leading to a liquidity crisis across the Chinese economy. Real estate loans have been the core business of Chinese banks for years, and almost every bank is deeply entangled in this situation. If the real estate crisis isn't resolved, widespread financial collapses among banks seem inevitable. In the wealth management market, third-party companies have a somewhat mysterious presence. Their business expansion mainly relies on personal connections built by financial advisors. Over 95% of these advisors have a banking background, which is why these companies value their customer resources from their time in the banks. Furthermore, investment products from these third-party wealth companies, such as bonds, stocks, and funds, are often the underlying assets of banks, closely linked to various wealth management platforms. Many third-party wealth products are even sold in banks, marketed by bank managers as bank financial products. This practice is known in the industry as bank fly orders. This situation means that customers who buy these third-party products risk losing everything, while banks also face substantial losses on their underlying investments. Mr. Y said, "This is a crisis coming from the banks themselves. However, the Chinese central bank recently injected a massive amount of funds to save the real estate market, so liquidity pressures should ease in the short term. But have you noticed that banks' control over cash withdrawals haven't loosened? In fact, it's gotten stricter." Basically, as long as you keep your money in the bank or transfer it online, whether you're buying property or trading stocks, they won't interfere. They might even encourage it. But if you want to withdraw cash, even just a few thousand, they'll investigate it thoroughly. Even if you say the cash is for a down payment for a house, they'll demand a letter of intent, a purchase agreement, and property details. Do you know what this means? It's the Chinese authorities dictating your spending habits, forcing you to buy property, trade stocks, and lift weights for the government. This is the second reason for the difficulty in withdrawing cash, preventing capital flight, and forcing you to use your savings to support the government. On September 24th, the Chinese Communist Party introduced several policies to stimulate the economy. The stock market skyrocketed, jumping from 2,600 points to 3,300 points in just 6 days. The authorities began aggressively promoting the idea that the Chinese stock market is booming, a bull market is coming, and that the 90s generation is rushing in. In response to the recent developments, the X-platform user Quantum Leap shared their perspective. He mentioned, "Earlier, I underestimated the scale of the CCP's grand scheme. The situation is far more complex and dangerous than we imagined. The CCP is trying to drain the pond to catch all the fish. They want to completely deplete the resources and take whatever is left." Quantum Leap explained that the current economic crisis in China is characterized by deflation, with the entire economy stuck in a deflationary trap, unable to recover. The root cause of this deflation lies in weak consumer spending. People simply don't want to spend. The money residents have is either sitting in banks or kept as cash at home, with everyone holding onto their savings and waiting. There are three main reasons for this lack of consumption. 1. High unemployment rates and widespread job loss. 2. A significant drop in household income. And 3. Consumer expectations have hit rock bottom. These issues are fueled by a sharp decline in investment, massive withdrawal of foreign capital, and the closure of numerous factories. The economic crisis in China is worsening due to these interconnected factors. According to the latest data from the Chinese government, from January to July of this year, total household savings exceeded 147 trillion yuan, and that doesn't include cash stored in people's homes outside the banking system. From the CCP's perspective, the key to pulling the economy out of this deflationary slump lies in forcing this enormous sum of savings into the consumption sector. Instead of addressing the economic crisis, by reforming political and economic systems, the CCP is eyeing people's last bit of savings, attempting to push it into circulation. So, how does the CCP plan to achieve this? They've come up with a sinister strategy. They're cranking up the money printing to its maximum. At the same time, they're lowering reserve ratios and interest rates, reducing mortgage rates, cutting down payment requirements, and loosening the financial institution's ability to finance stock market operations. This liquidity injection is the largest since the 4 trillion yuan stimulus of 2008, and it may even exceed that scale. However, the 2008 stimulus was aimed at mitigating the effects of the U.S. financial crisis, whereas now the U.S. and Western economies are relatively stable. So, this stimulus is entirely an internal remedy by the CCP. Quantum Leap pointed out that in their effort to climb out of the deflation pit, the CCP is artificially inflating the stock index, spreading rumors that the index will surpass 4,000 points. They've allowed security firms and financial institutions to raise stock prices through repeated financing methods, luring more people into the market. Additionally, by significantly lowering mortgage rates and down payments, real estate agents have launched collective actions, encouraging consumers to scramble for premium properties. The CCP hopes that this deceptive approach will shift deflation into inflation. They are desperately trying to create the illusion that prices, housing, and the stock market are all about to skyrocket. By instilling fear that money will rapidly devalue, they hope to trigger panic buying among the public. To avoid their wealth shrinking due to inflation, people will be forced to withdraw their savings and pour them into the property and stock markets, essentially buying up the CCP's bad assets at inflated prices. In the end, Quantum Leap issued a stark warning. This massive stimulus is a complete scam. People must guard their wallets and not trust or have any illusions about the CCP. Throughout the CCP's 100-year history, when have they ever been kind to the people? Not in the past, not today, and not in the future. This stimulus is a desperate, all-or-nothing gamble by the CCP, a last-ditch attempt to escape the economic crisis. It's worth noting that during this strange stock market surge, many listed companies have collectively announced share reductions. Last week alone, at least 146 companies issued share reduction notices. Many online commentators have bluntly remarked, "What does this mean? Is a major crash coming?" They're starting to sell off companies to retail investors and cash out to run. On September 30th, a widely circulated article appeared on Chinese social media. The article summarized the current stock market boom as a combination of major shareholders of listed companies reducing holdings, veteran investors partially exiting, and new investors left holding the bag. Many clear-headed netizens also remarked, "The cancerous stock market is attracting more chives," the nickname for naive investors. They just want to get the money out of your bank accounts. They wanted you to buy houses, but you didn't. They wanted you to stimulate consumption, but you didn't spend. Even after lowering interest rates, you still kept saving. Now the government has to pump up the stock market. Everyone must cough up their savings. A joke is circulating online. User A says, "I don't know how to trade stocks, but I have 100,000 yuan in cash. I'm planning to borrow 600,000 yuan more and go all in tomorrow with 700,000. Any suggestions?" User B replies, "Keep 3,000 yuan aside, because you'll need an electric scooter to deliver food when it all goes south." Recently, another disturbing piece of news has surfaced. Some netizens claim that the topmost authorities in the CCP have been privately printing unbacked money for many years, but ordinary people are unaware of it. On September 16th, a supermarket owner in Dalian posted a video showing two 100 yuan banknotes she received, both bearing the exact same serial number. The counterfeit detector machine couldn't recognize the issue. People began speculating that these identical banknotes were likely privately printed by official factories. Some even suspect that this is an example of unauthorized currency overissuance. In fact, rumors of identical serial numbers have been circulating for a while. Back in 2021, after the investigation of Chen Yaoming, a deputy head of China's currency printing and minting corporation, rumors spread online that he had privately printed 2 trillion yuan worth of identical serial numbered banknotes. This news quickly became a hot topic. The next day, the Chinese central bank urgently denied the accusations, but the subject continued to draw public attention. As early as 2002, Sanjing Metropolis Daily reported a similar case, where a woman named Wen withdrew 2 100 yuan banknotes from the bank, both with identical serial numbers. They were confirmed to be real money. By 2010, another report came out of a man who discovered 2 banknotes with the same number, which were also verified as genuine by the bank. Many people at the time speculated that this might involve high-level corruption. There were rumors that the privately printed money was distributed among certain families, with the total amount reaching 2 trillion yuan. Such corruption rumors have led many to question whether China's monetary system is truly secure. Mr. Y, the financial industry insider we quoted earlier, continued, "The third reason why it's becoming harder to withdraw cash in China is that the CCP might be preparing for a currency reform, which could completely eliminate the use of physical cash, and this is the most unsettling part." The tightening of cash withdrawals has been going on for some time, but recently it's become more severe, to the point where it's seriously affecting the daily lives of ordinary people. You deposit 100,000 yuan, but you're only allowed to withdraw 3,000. That's practically no withdrawals allowed at all. The increasing exposure of identical serial numbers on banknotes has already caused the CCP to lose face. They are more worried that as more people learn the truth, they'll completely lose faith in the regime. Therefore, the potential mass recall of paper currency may be a step towards the complete abolition of cash circulation. Everything would then be replaced by digital currencies and online payments. This seems to be the CCP's ultimate goal. Of course, it will take time. They're trying to do it quietly. How many people realize that cash is the only area where the CCP doesn't have full control over the population's economic activities? In this era of big data, the government can fully monitor all your financial activities. They know every transaction you make, when, where, and for what purpose, whether you're using a card, transferring money, or paying through various digital platforms. Unless, of course, you use cash. Even for desperate Chinese citizens who are planning to flee the country, they still need some cash to convert into foreign currency. Digital transfers in such cases are almost impossible to manage and come with huge risks. The real target of this cash crackdown isn't the elite or the big capitalists who can escape the system. The CCP is targeting ordinary people, the human resources in their eyes. Mr. Y concluded by saying, if the CCP's currency reform really happens, what will it look like? North Korea is the mirror we can look into. The privileged few who have inside information will have already moved their funds out successfully, while the ordinary people will see all their savings in the bank devalued by over 90% overnight. That's the likely outcome. To Chinese citizens, Mr. Y offered this advice. Move your money and yourself out of China. Stockpile US dollars at home. Avoid the Chinese stock market and real estate. Don't be tempted to be the last one holding the bag, because you can't afford to play this game.